Meanwhile, speculation continues as to what John Kasich will do when he leaves office in 10 months. He looks like he's laying the groundwork for another presidential bid, traveling the country, making national TV appearances. Politico this week reported Kasich and his team are seriously considering making an independent bid for president if he finds President Trump unbeatable in a Republican primary. Terry Casey, what are the chances of an independent bid by John Kasich?
Well, when you read that Politico article, it's a whole bunch of unnamed sources. And then at the very end, when you dig through it, you see a bunch of other people referred to that basically throw cold water on it. I think you originally built this segment of, does Kasich go on a GOP primary, an independent, or a rocking chair?
Yes.
He doesn't want to go the rocking chair, but I think he just wants to keep the cards on the table. He wants to be part of the policy discussion. But he's also pretty realistic, because I think to CNN, he basically said, I've run for president twice. He understands the challenges of raising money and doing the other things in primaries. So I think it's mainly he wants to stay involved, he wants to stay active, he wants to be in the policy discussions.
Are you buying that?
Well, to me, it's pretty simple. I think Kasich clearly wants to run for president again. If by 2020, President Trump's approval rating is underwater, not just with the electorate as a whole, but with the GOP, Kasich can then take him on as a Republican and say that this is the way we save the presidency. If, on the other hand, the GOP is still the party of Trump by 2020, Kasich would have to run as an independent, but I think he'll only do it if he's got pretty good polling data showing that a third-party candidate has a reasonable chance of being elected.
The bottom line is, Julie, it's hard to run as an independent, and it's hard to beat an incumbent, certainly from within your own party. So John Kasich is in a bit of a bind here.
He is. I think he's waiting it out. I mean, I think there's another, maybe third option, which is that there is a party with a certain platform that's bipartisan. That's been talked about, that, you know, he would run a bipartisan ticket of some kind, do something very weird, because he hangs around with Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper, and they make a lot of policy. Just this last week, they made some policy recommendations on healthcare. They've talked about immigration. Now he's talking about guns. He's building a sort of a portfolio of these moderate positions, and I think that it's possible, in addition to single issue voters, we might see voters who are going to vote on the issue of bipartisanship and civility, and where are they going to go?
And Jackie, he's positioned, John Kasich is, if Trump decides not to run or can't run again.
Right, that's another option. Although, you know, recent reports have showed that that's not where he's at right now. Yep. That, you know, they're still raising a ton of money, and things are already in motion for that next election.
Here's the wild card. If Trump does not finish his term and Mike Pence becomes president, that's the wild card that would almost certainly put an end to Kasich's presidential ambitions, because the party would almost certainly rally around Pence as their best hope for retaining the office in 2020.
You know, Gerald Ford took over for Nixon, and they didn't win that election. Reagan still ran against him in 76, or yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that right now, to the extent that you have a split party, you have a civil war within the Republican Party. If Trump leaves, Pence becomes president, I think there will almost certainly be a rallying around him.
But Mike, as final point, if you build a house on a foundation of what if, speculation, and guessing, that isn't a very good house. And you don't run for president just on that kind of speculation. Unless you can really raise the money and be effective, he's not going to run.
Yeah, speculation is our job here.
Right. Well, the media does that very well.
Yes, we do.